The Wolf at Her Door. By silent voice heard romances. Emma knew something was wrong the moment she stepped into the clearing. She'd been walking these woods every morning for 3 years. This was her favorite time of day, before the world woke up, before the bookshop demanded her attention, before she had to smile at customers and pretend everything was fine. This morning, the forest was too quiet. No birdsong, no rustling in the underbrush. Just her own breathing, and the crunch of frost beneath her boots. Movement flickered between the trees. Emma's hand moved to her phone in her jacket pocket, then stopped. No point, she never had a signal out here. It stepped into the clearing, and her breath caught in her throat. A wolf, massive, silent, near enough that she could see the frost on its dark fur, the plume of its breath in the cold air, its amber eyes locked onto hers. Emma didn't breathe, didn't move. Wolves weren't native to this part of England, hadn't been for hundreds of years, but this one was here, real, staring at her like it knew her. The air seemed to tighten around them, just her heartbeat thundering in her ears and those amber eyes burning into hers. The wolf took a step closer. Then, with a soundless grace, it padded across the clearing and melted into the trees. Emma stayed still, the blood roaring in her ears. Right, time to go, time to definitely go and probably never come back to this clearing again. She turned to leave, then froze again. There, from the direction the wolf had gone, not a growl, but something else. The faint rustle of fabric, a low curse from a man. Every instinct screamed at her to leave. Instead, her traitorous feet carried her toward the noise. She pushed through a screen of bushes and found herself in a smaller clearing, where a very naked man was hopping on one foot, trying desperately to pull on a pair of jeans. "Oh my God," Emma yelped, spinning around so fast she nearly tripped over a root. "Wait," the man's voice was panicked. "Please don't. I can explain, just, bollocks." There was a thump and another curse. "Are you all right?" Emma asked, still facing away, her cheeks burning. "Yes. No, could you just give me 30 seconds? Please don't run." Emma squeezed her eyes shut, even though her back was already turned. "I'm not running." Why wasn't she running? This was insane. She'd just seen a wolf, and now there was a naked man, and her brain was trying very hard to make connections she absolutely did not want to make. "Okay," the man said finally. "I'm decent, mostly." Emma turned slowly. The man stood a few feet away, pulling on a coat over bare skin, jeans slung low on his hips. He was tall, lean, muscles rippling with quiet strength. Dark hair fell across his forehead, wild, like he'd been running his hands through it, but it was his eyes that made her breath catch. Amber, burning and impossibly familiar, the same eyes as the wolf, exactly the same. Emma blinked, and the color shifted, warm brown now, entirely human, as if that molten gold had never existed at all. Had she imagined it? Her breath hitched, heat prickling under her skin despite the chill. Her pulse thrummed. "I know what you saw," he said quietly, holding up his hands in a gesture of surrender. "And I know how mental this sounds, but I promise I'm not going to hurt you." Emma stared at him. She should be screaming. She should be calling the police. She should be doing literally anything except standing here, remarkably calm, looking at a man who had apparently just been a wolf. "You're She couldn't quite make herself say it. "Yeah," he winced. "I'm sorry. I thought I was alone out here. I didn't mean to scare you, but you're Emma gestured vaguely at him, then at the trees where the wolf had disappeared. "The word you're looking for is werewolf," he supplied. They stared at each other. A bird called somewhere in the canopy. The mist continued its slow dance around their ankles. "Right," Emma said faintly. "Of course. Werewolf. That's just fantastic." He tilted his head, studying her. "You're handling this remarkably well." "I'm choosing to believe I'm dreaming right now," Emma said, though she knew she wasn't. She felt hyper-aware of everything. The morning chill, the way his jeans sat low on his hips revealing the sharp lines of his stomach muscles, the fact that his eyes were doing something to her pulse that had nothing to do with fear. "And if you're not asleep," he asked carefully. Emma wrapped her arms around herself. Then I guess I know a werewolf now. Something in his expression softened. Lucas, he said. My name is Lucas. Emma. A pleasure to meet you, Emma. Look, I know this is completely mad, but could you not tell anyone? I'm just passing through, looking at properties in the area. I'll be gone soon. And properties? Emma latched onto the normal word like a lifeline. You're looking to move here? Maybe. He shifted his weight, a quick tension in his shoulders, and the faintest pink dusted his cheeks. God, this is awkward, he exclaimed. Despite everything, Emma felt a laugh bubble up. You did just transform from a wolf, in front of a stranger, naked. When you put it like that, a smile tugged at his mouth, and Emma found herself smiling back. This was completely, utterly insane. I should go, Emma said, not moving. I have to open the shop. I run a bookshop. The Turning Page, on the high street. Internally she cursed herself. Why don't you tell him where you live too? A bookshop, Lucas said, and something warm entered his expression. That suits you. You don't know me. No, he agreed. Right then, she said, taking a step back. I'm going to go. Process this. Maybe have several cups of tea. Emma, Lucas called as she turned. She looked back. Thank you, for not screaming. The day's not over yet, Emma said, but she was smiling. The Turning Page smelled like old books and the lavender sachets Emma tucked between the shelves. Normally, the scent calmed her. Today, she'd already made 3 cups of tea she hadn't finished, reorganized the front display twice, and was now alphabetizing a section that was already alphabetized. A werewolf. She'd seen a werewolf. Her hands stilled on a copy of Wuthering Heights. Not only seen one, but had a conversation with it, him, in his human form. And what a form he had. She could still see it when she closed her eyes. The hard planes of his chest, those lean, coiled muscles, every line, every curve, precise and alive. She could almost feel the warmth of his skin under her fingers, the way he'd looked at her with those eyes that had shifted from amber to. Emma shoved the book onto the shelf too hard. It knocked into the one behind it. Not the time to be thinking about the very attractive man named Lucas, who was definitely, absolutely a werewolf. She needed that 4th cup of tea. The bell above the door chimed. Emma looked up and felt her heart stutter. Lucas stood in the doorway, fully dressed now in dark jeans and a grey jumper that fit him entirely too well. He gave her a tentative smile. Hi. Hi, Emma echoed, gripping the books she was holding. I wanted to apologize again, Lucas said, stepping inside and closing the door behind him. That was not how I wanted to introduce myself, as opposed to the normal werewolf introduction protocol. His smile widened. Fair point. They looked at each other for a moment. Emma noticed things she'd been too shocked to register in the forest, the slight crook in his nose, as if it had been broken once, the way his eyes crinkled at the corners, the nervous way he shoved his hands into his pockets. You really own this place? Lucas asked, glancing around. Emma felt an absurd flush of pride. 3 years now. It's not much, but it's perfect. Lucas moved to the nearest shelf, running his fingers along the spines. I haven't been in a proper bookshop in ages. What do you read? Anything. Everything. He pulled out a worn copy of The Last King. Though I've got a soft spot for the classics. That's one of my favorites, Emma said before she could stop herself. Lucas looked at her, and there was that warmth again. Then I'll take it. You don't have to buy something just because. I want to. He brought the book to the counter where she stood. Besides, I need something to read at the B&B I'm staying at. Emma laughed, the sound surprising her. You're staying at Patterson's? Just until I find a property that works. He paused. If I find one? For your family? Emma said. Something flickered across his face. Yes, there's quite a few of us, so it's tricky to find the right location. Emma's fingers fumbled the keys on the register twice. She could feel him watching her, feel the heat of him across the counter, smell that pine and something wild. Her hands wouldn't quite steady as she slid the book into a bag. When she looked up, his eyes were on her, and her stomach flipped. Quite a few of them. Did he mean his pack? Were there going to be wolves moving into town, slipping through streets and gardens while everyone went about their normal lives? People might notice, rumors could start, someone could get hurt. Or worse. She shook her head, trying to push the images away. Stop thinking like that. He's just human, mostly. So, Lucas said as she handed him the book. Are you going to tell anyone? About the... Emma glanced toward the door, lowering her voice. Wolf thing? The wolf thing, he confirmed, his lips twitching. Emma considered. Who would believe me? You'd be surprised. Are there others, here, I mean? Not in town. Lucas studied her face. You're really not afraid, are you? I'm terrified, Emma admitted softly. I'm just very good at pretending I'm not. That, Lucas said softly. I understand completely. Their eyes met, and neither looked away. A small, knowing half-smile flickered across his face, and she felt a tug in her chest, like they were quietly acknowledging something unspoken. His fingers drummed lightly against the counter, her hands hovered over the book for a fraction too long. In that pause, they measured each other, recognizing the practiced calm behind the other's eyes. The bell chimed again, and Mrs. Chen from the post office bustled in, already talking about the new mystery novel she'd been waiting for. Lucas stepped back. I should go, but Emma, she looked up. I'm glad I met you, even if the circumstances were unusual. After he left, Emma's hand drifted to the counter, fingertips tracing the worn wood where his had rested. This morning she'd been alone, content in her quiet life. Now there was a werewolf in town, and she couldn't stop thinking about the way he'd said her name. Over the course of the week, they bumped into each other. First at the market. Once in the park. Each meeting was brief, a shared smile, a few words exchanged, but enough to leave her with a growing familiar tug in her chest whenever she walked away. On Friday, Emma popped into the cafe across the street for lunch. She spotted him immediately, hunched over a table by the window, a map of the local area spread out before him, several property listings scattered around. He was scribbling something in the corner of the map, completely absorbed. Her heart skipped. After collecting her food, without thinking, she made her way over. Mind if I join you? She asked, sliding into the seat opposite him. He looked up, startled for a fraction of a second, then smiled, the same half-smile she'd caught in the bookshop. Emma, of course. She set down her tray, her gaze flicking to a map. Any luck? She asked. Lucas nodded. Maybe. There's a property on the edge of the forest with lots of land. I'm viewing it tomorrow. He traced his hand over the area. That sounds perfect for a big family. Hopefully, he traced a finger along one of the forest paths on the map. Do you know these woods well? Better than I know most people in town, Emma admitted. I'm friendly with everyone, but I've never been good at letting people in. My friend Sarah's the exception. She bulldozed her way into my life and I'm grateful for it. Would you? Lucas hesitated. Would you want to show me around sometime? I'd like to see the area through local eyes before I make any decisions. She should say no. She should maintain distance from the werewolf who made her heart race. I'm free this afternoon, Emma heard herself say. I close the shop at 3. Lucas's face lit up in a way that made her stomach flip. Wonderful. Then his eyes met hers. There's something you want to ask me. His voice was calm, but there was a flicker of amusement in it, a statement more than a question. Her cheeks warmed instantly. She ducked her gaze, fidgeting with the edge of her sleeve. How did he know? Not to sound melodramatic, but just, out of curiosity. Her voice dropped to a whisper, heat creeping up her neck. I mean, I won't become dinner if I, walk into the woods with you? His eyes flickered across her face, slowly down to her neck, and then he threw back his head and laughed, rich and unrestrained. Heads turned from nearby tables, curious, but she barely noticed. He leaned forward, lowering his voice, and placed his warm hand over hers, his touch steadying. I'd prefer we go out for pizza afterwards, if that's okay with you. Her shoulders relaxed in a rush of relief, and a small, shaky grin tugged at her lips. Deal. They met at the forest edge at 4:30. The autumn sun hung low in the sky. Lucas had changed into walking boots and a thick jacket, looking every bit the outdoorsman. "Ready?" she asked. "Lead the way." Emma took him along one of her favorite paths that coiled deep into the forest where the world felt ancient and untouched. Lucas moved like he was part of it, his steps silent. "You really fit in here," Emma said, watching him crouch to examine some tracks in the mud. "I can hear all of it," Lucas said. He glanced up at her. "Life moving through the trees. It's like a symphony." "That must be overwhelming." "Sometimes," he straightened, "but mostly it's comforting. You learn to focus on what matters." They walked on, and Emma felt herself relaxing in a way she rarely did around people. Despite everything, despite what he was, Lucas made her feel safer than she had with anyone in years. "Why did you move here?" Lucas asked as they reached Emma's favorite spot, a small stream that burbled over smooth stones, surrounded by ferns. "Long story. We have all the time in the world." Emma sat on a flat rock by the water, and Lucas joined her, his thigh pressing warm against hers. Neither of them moved away. "I used to live in London," she began. "Had a job in a big marketing company. I was one cog in a very big wheel. Had a boyfriend who I thought I'd marry." She picked up a pebble, turning it over in her fingers. "Turns out he thought marriage meant I'd focus on being the right kind of wife for his career." "Sounds like a tosser." Emma laughed. "He really was. So I left, saw the ad for the bookshop, and I just knew. Packed up my life in a week and never looked back." "Do you miss it, London?" "Not even a little bit." Emma threw the pebble into the stream. "What about you? Why are you really looking for a new place?" Lucas was quiet for a long moment. "The area where we've been living is getting too developed, too many people, too much attention. We need somewhere remote, where we can be ourselves without constantly hiding." "We," Emma repeated softly. "Your pack?" He nodded. "They're my family. I'm responsible for finding us a safe home." "That's a lot of pressure." "I don't mind, they'd do the same for me." Lucas looked at her. "Does it scare you to have a large pack nearby?" Emma considered. She should say yes. "I don't think so," she said instead. "You haven't given me a reason to be afraid." "I could. That's what you need to understand, Emma. I'm not human. None of us are. We're stronger, faster, more dangerous than you could imagine. And I'm really not supposed to announce our presence to the locals." He trailed off. "Is this where you try to scare me off?" "Maybe, a little bit," but he was smiling. "Not working," Emma said, bumping her shoulder against his. The touch sent electricity through her. Lucas must have felt it too, because he went very still, his eyes darkening. "Emma," the way her name sounded in his mouth made heat pool low in her belly. "I need you to know." Her phone buzzed. Emma wanted to throw it in the stream, wanted to know what he was about to say more than she wanted her next breath, but she checked it automatically. "Damn, I'm supposed to meet up with my friend Sarah. I completely forgot," she sighed. "Rain check on the pizza." He nodded. They stood, and the moment dissipated like the mist. As they walked back, Emma couldn't stop stealing glances at Lucas, the way the fading light caught his profile, the easy confidence of his movements, the fact that she could talk to him in a way she hadn't talked to anyone in years. She was in so much trouble. At the forest edge, Lucas caught her hand. "Thank you for showing me your world." "It's your world too," Emma said. "Or it could be." His thumb brushed across her knuckles, and Emma forgot how to breathe. "I hope so," Lucas said quietly. Then he let her go, and she walked away feeling like she'd left something important behind in the trees. That night, lying in bed, Emma stared at the ceiling and admitted the truth to herself. She was attracted to a werewolf, and she had absolutely no idea what to do about it. The next morning, he was waiting at the clearing. The morning after that, too. By the end of the week, Emma stopped being surprised to find him there. Wolf or man, it didn't seem to matter. Lucas became part of her routine as naturally as breathing. He never transformed in front of her again, always disappearing into the trees first, emerging minutes later fully dressed with that slightly sheepish smile. Then the bookshop, where he'd appear late afternoon with fresh coffee. He'd sit in a chair with a book while she worked, occasionally looking up to catch her watching him, which always made her cheeks flush. It had been a week and a half, and Emma couldn't remember what her life had been like before Lucas. "You're smiling at the inventory spreadsheet," Sarah observed on Friday afternoon, when she appearing with sandwiches for lunch. "That's either very concerning or you finally lost it completely." Emma minimized the screen quickly. "Just in a good mood." Sarah perched on the counter, her dark eyes knowing. Would this good mood have anything to do with the gorgeous bloke who's been practically living in your shop? "He is just a friend." "Oh come on. He fancies you, and by the look of your rosy cheeks right now, it's mutual." Sarah bit into her sandwich. "When's the wedding? Can I be maid of honor?" "You're ridiculous." "I'm observant." "There's a difference," Sarah grinned. "Seriously though, I haven't seen you this happy since you moved here." If only Sarah knew the half of it. As if summoned by their conversation, the bell chimed and Lucas walked in. He stopped short seeing Sarah, then smiled politely. "Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt." "Not interrupting," Sarah said, hopping down with a sly look at Emma. "I was just leaving." "Lucas, right? I'm Sarah, Emma's best friend and self-appointed life coordinator." Lucas shook her hand, amused. "Nice to meet you." "You too, take care of our girl." Sarah winked and swept out, leaving Emma mortified. "Our girl?" Lucas raised an eyebrow, approaching the counter. "Ignore her, she's..." Emma shook her head. "How was the property viewing?" Lucas's whole face lit up. "Emma, it's perfect. The house needs work, but it has 20 acres of forest attached, even a stream running through it. I put in an offer this morning." "That's amazing." Emma felt a surge of happiness for him, followed immediately by a pang of something else. This was becoming real. "There's actually been another pack in the area for about 15 years, Lucas continued, leaning against the counter. "I reached out to their alpha before I even viewed the property. He was welcoming, said the territory is large enough for both packs as long as we establish clear boundaries." Emma blinked. "There are other werewolves here? Already?" "About 20 miles north. You'd never know it." Lucas smiled at her expression. "We're good at staying hidden, and packs don't typically fight unless something drastic happens, territorial disputes that can't be resolved, threats to pack members, that sort of thing. Mostly we're just neighbors." "So this other alpha is fine with you moving in?" "More than fine. He said it would be good to have allies nearby." His expression softened. "I told him about you." Something warm bloomed in Emma's chest. "Why?" Lucas reached across the counter, his fingers brushing hers. "You're important, Emma. The pack will need to know that." "Is that okay?" What he was really asking didn't need words. The tilt of his head, the way his eyes had gone dark, the tight line of his jaw. Emma couldn't stop herself. She reached across the counter and took his hand, threading their fingers together. His skin was warm, and she felt his pulse jump under her thumb. "It's okay," she whispered. "More than okay." Lucas exhaled roughly and leaned forward, bringing their joined hands to his lips. The kiss he pressed to her knuckles was soft, but his eyes never left hers. "Emma." The door burst open, and a courier stumbled in with an enormous box. They sprang apart like guilty teenagers. Emma's face burned as she signed for the package, hyper-aware of Lucas watching her, of the phantom feeling of his lips on her skin. When the courier left, the moment had shifted, but Lucas's eyes were still dark. His smile lit the room, slow and impossible. "I need to tell you something." Emma's pulse shot, heart hammering so loud she was sure he could hear it. "I haven't felt this comfortable anywhere in years," Lucas said, leaning just slightly closer, his shoulder brushing the edge of hers. "This town, these woods, your bookshop, I think this could really be home." His words made her throat go dry, a warmth curling low in her stomach. "I'm glad," she managed, her hands gripping the counter as if it would anchor her racing thoughts. When he left an hour later, Emma pressed her fingers to her lips, trying to still the fluttering pulse, the unspoken words lingering like sparks in the air. The weekend brought the autumn market, a monthly affair where the whole town set up stalls in the square. Emma had volunteered to run a used book table for charity, which meant an early start and a long day of chatting with neighbors. She hadn't expected Lucas to show up at 8 in the morning with tea and an offer to help. "You don't have to," Emma protested, even as warmth spread through her chest. "I want to. Besides, I should probably meet more people if I'm going to be living here." So they set up the table together, arranging books while the square slowly filled with vendors. Lucas charmed everyone he met. "You're a natural," Emma observed as they had a rare quiet moment around noon. "Pack dynamics," Lucas said with a shrug. "You learn to read people, make them feel comfortable with their own interests. Is that what you're doing with me, making me comfortable?" Lucas turned to face her fully. With you, I'm just me. It's been a long time since I could be that with anyone." Before Emma could respond, a group of children ran past, laughing and chasing each other. One of them, a little boy of maybe 6, tripped and went sprawling. He started to cry, blood welling from a scraped knee. Lucas was there in an instant, crouching beside him. "Hey, mate, you're all right. Let's have a look." The boy sniffled, and Emma watched, something in her chest going tight, as Lucas examined the scrape with gentle hands. "Just a scratch. You're very brave. See, nothing broken." The boy's mother rushed over, thanking Lucas profusely. He waved off her gratitude, returning to Emma with a soft smile. "You're good with kids," Emma said. "There are a few in the pack. I'm used to bandaging scraped knees and hurt feelings." He paused. "Do you want children?" "Sorry. That's probably too personal." "Maybe someday," Emma said. She met his eyes. "What about you?" "I'd like to." The weight of his gaze made her skin tingle. They were interrupted again, this time by Tom, the local butcher, calling Lucas over to settle a debate, but Emma's mind was spinning. He'd said he was talking about a hypothetical future, but the way he'd looked at her. The afternoon passed in a blur of book sales and easy conversation. Lucas fit into the fabric of the town like he'd always been there. People gravitated toward him, and though he seemed to be everywhere, with everyone, Emma noticed the way he checked in with her throughout the day, bringing her tea, making sure she ate, his hand on her lower back as they chatted with tourists. As the sun began to set and they packed up the remaining books, Sarah appeared with her boyfriend Mike. "Pub?" Sarah suggested. "The whole town's heading there. You two should come." Emma glanced at Lucas, who nodded. "Sounds good." The pub was packed, warm with laughter. They squeezed into a corner table, and Emma found herself pressed against Lucas's side in the booth. He didn't move away, neither did she. 3 pints in, surrounded by friends and neighbors, Emma felt something settle in her chest. Contentment, belonging, the sense that she was exactly where she was meant to be. Lucas's arm had made its way around her shoulders, and somehow Emma had ended up tucked against his side, her hand resting on his thigh. She was hyper-aware of his fingers tracing patterns on her shoulder, the solid warmth of him, the way his thumb occasionally brushed the side of her neck. When she looked up at him, he was already looking down at her, his expression soft but heated. He asked quietly, just for her, his lips close enough to her temple that she felt his warm breath on her skin. "Very," Emma admitted, her fingers flexing slightly against his leg. "Good." His hand slid into her hair, thumb tracing the shell of her ear, and she had to suppress a shiver. "So am I." Around them, the pub hummed with conversation and laughter, but Emma felt cocooned with him, in their own small world. She wanted to climb into his lap, wanted to kiss him until neither of them could think, wanted to suggest they leave, go back to hers, see where the night took them. As if reading her mind, Lucas's eyes flashed amber. His hand tightened in her hair, and she felt a low rumble in his chest, something between a growl and a purr that no human throat should make. He closed his eyes, exhaled slowly. When he opened them again, they were brown. "We should probably stay a bit longer," he murmured, voice still rough. "Be social." "Probably," Emma agreed, making no move to pull away. His quiet laugh vibrated through her. "You're not helping." "I'm not trying to." They stayed until closing. Then Lucas walked her home through the quiet streets. The full moon hung heavy and silver overhead. "Does it bother you?" Emma asked, nodding toward the moon. Being out during a full moon? It's harder to resist the change, Lucas admitted. But not impossible. They'd reached her flat above the bookshop. Lucas leaned against the brick wall, hands in his pockets. The air between them felt charged in the darkness. Electric. Emma's heart was racing, and she knew Lucas could hear it. "Emma," he said, voice rough, "I'm falling for you." The words came out in a rush. "I know that's mad. You're human and it's too soon. And you probably think I'm insane, but I can't keep pretending I don't feel this. You're the first person who's made me feel like a man." Emma couldn't breathe. "Lucas, you don't have to say anything, I just needed you to know." He pushed off the wall, starting to turn away. Emma caught his hand. "The feeling is mutual." Lucas froze, then turned back slowly. "Really?" Emma laughed. A little breathless. "I'm terrified and it's completely mad. But yes, can I kiss you?" Lucas asked, stepping closer. "You don't need to ask." His hands framed her face, thumbs tracing the curve of her cheekbones. His gaze held hers, slow and steady, and a shiver ran down her spine, curling low in her chest. Her breath hitched, and she felt an almost electric pull in the space between them. Then his lips met hers, Emma's hands fisted in his jacket, pulling him closer. The kiss deepened, and she could feel his heartbeat. Or was it hers? Everything blurred together. The taste of him, the solid warmth of his body, the way he held her like she was precious. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Lucas kept her close, his hands still framing her face, thumbs tracing the line of her jaw. "I've wanted to do that for days," he murmured, his breath warm against her lips. "Only days?" Emma's voice came out rougher than intended. "Well, actually since the moment you didn't run screaming from the forest." His eyes were dark, pupils blown wide, and he was looking at her mouth like he was starving. Emma pulled him down again, and this time the kiss was deeper, hungrier. His hands slid into her hair, angling her head, and she gasped in pleasure. Pressed against him, she could feel the barely leashed strength, the way he was holding himself in check, and it made her want to unravel him completely. When they broke apart this time, Lucas pressed his forehead to hers, both of them shaking. "I should let you go," he said, making no move to do so. "You should," Emma agreed, not releasing her grip on his jacket. They stood there another moment, breathing each other in, before Lucas finally, reluctantly, stepped back. "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow," she promised, and watched him walk away, her lips still tingling, her heart still racing. The next week was the happiest of Emma's life. Lucas's offer on the property was accepted. He spent his days dealing with solicitors and surveys, but his mornings and evenings belonged to Emma. They fell into a rhythm: morning walks, stolen kisses in the bookshop when there were no customers, long evenings talking. He told her about the pack, his 3 sisters, their children. They were his world in every sense of the word. She told him about her parents, who she loved but who'd never understood her need for something different, about how she'd felt in London, surrounded by people but utterly alone. "I get that," Lucas said. They were curled up on her sofa, Emma half in his lap, her head tucked under his chin. His hand traced absent patterns on her hip, fingers slipping just under the hem of her jumper to find warm skin. The touch was casual, possessive, and it made her shiver. Being different is lonely, even when you're with people who are like you. Emma tilted her head back to look at him, and found his eyes already on her, dark and intent. The hand on her hip tightened slightly. "But you have your pack." "I do, and they're everything to me, but there's still," he paused. "There's still been something missing, until now." "Smooth talker," she said. "Only when it's true." He kissed her nose, making her giggle. But on Thursday evening, as they were closing up the shop together, Lucas's phone rang. Emma knew immediately something was wrong as she watched his expression shift from relaxed to tense in seconds. "When?" he asked sharply. Lucas listened, jaw tightening. "How bad?" He exhaled through his nose, eyes narrowing as the reply came. Then he grabbed his keys. "I'm on my way." He hung up and turned to Emma, jaw tight. "I have to go. Someone got hurt." "How badly?" "Bad enough." Lucas ran a hand through his hair. I need to be there. The move might need to happen sooner than we thought. Okay, of course. Go. But Lucas didn't move. He crossed to her, pulling her into a tight embrace. I'll be back as soon as I can. A week? Maybe 2. I'll be here, Emma promised, even as something cold settled in her stomach. He kissed her, hard and desperate. I'll call you. Then he was gone, the bell chiming behind him, and Emma stood alone in her bookshop feeling like something had just shifted fundamentally. She told herself it was fine, he'd be back. When she locked up and climbed the stairs to her flat, the quiet felt too big. She dropped her keys in the bowl, listened to the faint clatter fade, and stood there a moment, waiting for the sound of his voice, or his laugh, that never came. Her chest tightened, the air felt thinner somehow, like he'd walked away with more than just his footsteps. The first few days, Lucas texted regularly, brief messages, made it back, dealing with pack business, miss you. Then the texts became less frequent. By the end of the first week, Emma hadn't heard from him in 24 hours. She told herself he was busy, dealing with pack politics, helping whoever was hurt, organizing a major relocation. Of course he didn't have time to text constantly, but the silence felt wrong. Emma was restocking shelves when the bell chimed. She looked up with a smile, hoping it would be Lucas. Instead, a stranger stood in the doorway. He was tall, lean, with light brown hair and dark black eyes. Everything about him set her teeth on edge. The man wandered through the shop, picking up random books without really seeing them. Emma pretended to work, but every nerve was on alert. Can I help you? Emma asked, standing up. Just browsing. But he wasn't looking at the books, he was looking at her. You're Emma, aren't you? He said finally. Her head snapped up. Do I know you? No, but I know Lucas. He smiled, and it didn't reach his eyes. We have mutual interests in this area. I'm Daniel, from the family north of here. Understanding crashed over her. You're like him. Smart girl. He set down the book he'd been holding. Lucas has been spending a lot of time here, with you. My alpha approved his pack's move, but not everyone is thrilled about it. Then take it up with Lucas, Emma said, fighting to keep her voice steady. Oh, I plan to. He moved closer, and Emma had to force herself not to back away. But I thought I should meet the human he's been so distracted by, see what's worth compromising our territory for. Your alpha already agreed. My alpha, Daniel cut her off, is too trusting. He thinks more wolves in the area means strength in numbers. I think it means complications. His eyes dragged over her dismissively. Especially when those wolves start forming attachments to fragile humans. Emma's hands shook, but she kept her voice level. I think you should leave. Here's what's going to happen, Daniel said, leaning against the counter. Lucas is going to realize that keeping you safe and moving his pack here are mutually exclusive. You're a liability, a weakness that could get people hurt, and when he figures that out, he'll make the right choice. He straightened. I'm just helping him see it sooner rather than later. Get out, Emma said, her voice harder now. He smiled, cold and satisfied, and headed for the door. Give Lucas my regards. Tell him we need to have a conversation about priorities. After he left, Emma fumbled with the lock 3 times before the bolt finally slid home. Her breath came too fast, too shallow. She grabbed her phone. The ringtone stretched out, endless. Her free hand gripped the counter edge until her knuckles turned white. Another ring. Another. Voicemail. She tried again an hour later, and again that evening. Nothing. That night, lying in bed, Emma stared at her phone and tried not to panic. Lucas would call. He'd explain. Everything would be fine. But the stranger's words kept echoing in her head. Humans are liabilities. He's going to have to choose. The phone finally rang at 11:30. Emma grabbed it. Lucas? Emma? His voice sounded wrecked. I'm so sorry I haven't called. It's okay. Are you all right? How's the pack? We're managing. But Emma, He broke off. What's wrong? She stared at the floor for a long moment, listening to his unsteady breathing. I can't come back. The words hit her like a physical blow. What? The other pack, they know about you. They've been watching, making threats. And I realized, his voice cracked, I realized I've put you in danger just by being near you. I can't do that, I won't. Lucas, wait. I have to protect you. The only way to do that is to stay away. Don't I get a say in this? Emma demanded, sitting up. You're just deciding for me? I'm ensuring that you won't get hurt. Emma, you don't understand what these wolves are capable of, if they decided to use you to get to me. So you're just walking away from me. I'm sorry. He sounded destroyed. I'm so sorry. You deserved better than me. And I don't have a say in this, Emma said fiercely. Lucas took a shaky breath. Goodbye, Emma. Lucas, don't. The line went dead. Emma stared at the phone, something breaking open in her chest. She'd let herself believe, let herself hope, let herself fall completely in love with him, and he'd just walked away. Her breathing came uneven at first, short, sharp pulls that refused to steady. Panic pressed at the edges of her vision. She fumbled for the phone on the bedside table, nearly dropping it before she found Sarah's name. 2 rings. Hello, Sarah. The word broke apart. A string of sounds followed. Half sobs, half words. Whatever she meant to say dissolved in the air between them. I'm coming, Sarah said. By the time Sarah reached the house, the sobs had hollowed her out. She clutched the pillow that smelt of him, of the pine and smoke, every inhale shattering her further. Sarah's hand found her shoulder, steady and warm, pulling her into a tight hug, and only then did she let go, folding in on herself, the sound raw and unrestrained, until the grief had burned through every breath she had left. When she woke late the next morning, her eyes were red and puffy, her head thick from crying. The pillowcase was still stiff with salt, but her jaw was set. Sometime in the long dark hours, she decided she wasn't going to let Lucas decide what was safe for her. The problem was, she had no idea how to reach him. He wasn't answering his phone. She didn't know where his pack was based, or even how to find them. For all her falling in love with a werewolf, she'd never asked the practical questions. Emma opened the shop on autopilot, every movement mechanical, the rattle of keys, the flick of lights, the smell of old paper and dust settling around her. Her mind raced anyway. There had to be a way to. The bell chimed. The stranger from yesterday stood in the doorway, his smile sharp and deliberate. Morning, Emma. All the fear from their first encounter evaporated, burned away by fury. What do you want? She snapped. Just checking in. He strolled toward the counter as if browsing. I heard Lucas won't be returning. Emma's hands curled into fists. You did this, you threatened him. You were happy for his pack to move here until you found out about me. I simply pointed out the reality of the situation. He leaned against a bookshelf, the movement casual but his eyes hard. Humans and wolves don't mix, Emma. It's not sustainable. Someone always gets hurt. Her reply caught in her throat, a retort, a plea, she couldn't tell which. So you decided to hurt us first? I prevented a bigger mess, for him, for his pack. Sometimes protecting people means making hard choices. He studied her with something like curiosity. Emma stepped out from behind the counter, planting herself directly in front of him, crossed her arms and glowered up at him. If you wanted to scare me from Lucas, you failed. If you're here to threaten me, I'm not interested. This is my town, my home, and I'm not leaving, and I won't give up on him. The stranger blinked, clearly surprised. You've got courage, I'll give you that. You sure you don't have a little wolf inside of you? She snorted. His eyes softened as he studied her. Emma, you're human. Fragile. One werewolf having a bad day could kill me. Yes, I'm aware. Emma shifted. I could also die in a car accident, or from a random illness, or by slipping in the shower. Life is risk. The question is whether the risk is worth it, and Lucas is worth everything. They stared at each other. The stranger's expression shifted, not to friendliness, but to something like grudging respect. You really love him, he said finally. She felt her chest tighten. Yes. Then you're braver than I thought, or more foolish. He pushed off the bookshelf. For what it's worth, Lucas chose well, but that doesn't change the outcome. The stranger studied her for a long moment more. You know, if all humans were like you, we'd have fewer problems. He headed for the door, then paused. His pack is based near Inverness. Their compound overlooks the Bewley Firth, just in case you were wondering. Then he was gone, and Emma stood alone in her bookshop, shaking with adrenaline. Inverness, that was in Scotland. She could drive there in less than a day. Emma grabbed her phone and texted Sarah, "Can you cover the shop for a few days?" Sarah's response came within seconds, "Already on my way, go get your man." Emma threw some clothes in a bag, grabbed her car keys, and was on the road within an hour. She had a vague plan: drive to Inverness, somehow find Lucas's pack, tell him he was an idiot for thinking he could make decisions about her life without her. It wasn't a great plan, but it was movement, action, something other than accepting defeat. She'd driven for a few hours and had just stopped off at a service station when her phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello? Emma?" A woman's voice. "You don't know me, but I'm Jade, from Lucas's pack." Emma gasped. "How did you?" "Our alpha has been moping around like a kicked puppy for days, and finally I had enough and confronted him. He cracked and told me about you. I wanted to call sooner, but I had to wait until Lucas left the house." Jade paused. "He's being an idiot, by the way." "Wait, Alpha?" Emma's voice cracked. "Lucas is your alpha?" Jade laughed, surprised. "He didn't tell you?" "Of course he didn't, that's so like him." "But Emma struggled to process this. "He talked about taking care of the pack, finding them a home, but she'd never thought of Lucas that way. An alpha seemed like it should be someone commanding, dominant, obvious. Lucas was gentle, kind. He read classic literature and brought her coffee with extra foam." "Lucas doesn't lead by dominance," Jade said gently, reading her thoughts. "He leads by caring, putting everyone else first. That's why he's a good alpha, and why he's being a complete idiot about you." Emma's throat tightened. The burden he carried hit her all at once, not just finding a home for the pack, but keeping them safe, securing their future. And he'd still chosen her, risked everything for her, until he thought she was in danger. "He's always put the pack first," Jade continued, softer now, "keeps everyone safe, makes sure no one's left behind, but he's never let himself want anything, just for him. Until you." Emma's voice caught. "Then why?" "Because he is terrified, not of the other pack, not really, of losing you, of failing someone he loves." There was tenderness in Jade's voice. "He told me about you. You're his mate. He's bonded completely to you, and you don't mind that I'm human." Emma's voice shook. Jade laughed. "It is difficult, I won't lie. There are some challenges which I guess he hasn't spoken to you about yet, but humans and wolves can live together happily." "I'm driving to Inverness," Emma said, "to tell him he doesn't get to decide this alone." "But Emma, Lucas went to meet the solicitors about the property he bought. Is he on his way back?" "Left an hour ago. He'll be in town for a few hours, then heading back by tomorrow afternoon." Emma gripped the steering wheel. "Over my dead body." "That's what I expected. He's staying at a B&B outside town, then meeting the solicitor first thing tomorrow. I'll be waiting." "Give him hell," Jade said warmly. "And thanks for not giving up on him." Emma left Sarah a voice note. "He's staying at a B&B outside town." On it, her friend texted back. By the time Emma pulled up outside the shop, Sarah was waiting, bouncing on her toes. "Found it," she said, waving a slip of paper. Emma gaped. "How?" Pretended to be his assistant, said I needed to pass on a message. Worked like a charm. Well, on the 11th one, who knew we had so many? At 8 o'clock, Emma stepped into the townhouse, a bag of Chinese takeaway in hand. She smiled at the receptionist and asked which room Lucas was in. When he opened the door, he froze. "Emma," he stuttered, "what are you doing here? We need to talk." "I can't." He shook his head. "I'm not staying." She brushed past him, setting the food out on the tiny dressing table. "Jade told me your plan." Lucas's eyes widened. "Jade called you? Apparently your pack thinks you're being an idiot," she said, arms folding. "I agree with them." "Emma, you don't understand." "No, it's you that doesn't understand." Her voice rose, fierce. "You don't get to decide what risks I'm willing to take. You don't get to make choices about my life just to protect me. I'm trying to keep you safe." "I know that," she said, trying to calm her voice, and I love you for it. But I don't want to be safe if it means losing you. The words hung between them. Lucas stared at her, his expression cracking open. You love me? He said hoarsely. Of course I love you, you absolute idiot. I fell in love with you the day you scrambled around naked in the woods trying to put your trousers on. She stepped closer. And I love you enough to be furious that you think you get to make this choice alone. I could get you killed, Lucas said, his voice breaking. That other pack? I met one of them. He came to the shop. Lucas's entire body went rigid. He what? And you know what I did? I told him exactly what I'm telling you. That I'm not some fragile thing that needs protecting. That I choose you, danger and all. That this is my home and I'm not leaving. Emma closed the distance between them. He respected that, Lucas, more than you have. Lucas flinched like she'd struck him. You think you're protecting me by leaving? Emma continued, more gently now. But you're not. You're just hurting us both. I can be with you. The question is whether you're brave enough to let me try. I'm terrified, Emma, of losing you, Lucas said, his voice raw. Of failing you. You're failing me by leaving me alone. Her words barely a whisper. For a long moment, Lucas just looked at her, his expression cracking, crumbling. Then something in him broke. He closed the distance in 2 strides and scooped her up, her legs instinctively wrapping around his waist. One hand tangled in her hair, the other pressing firmly against her back, holding her as if letting go wasn't an option. He buried his face in her neck, and she felt him shudder as he inhaled her scent. I'm sorry, he said, voice wrecked, the words hot against her skin. I'm so sorry, Emma, I was an idiot. Yes, you were. She pulled back just enough to cup his face, to see the tears glistening in his amber eyes, her own vision blurred. Don't you ever make decisions about us, without me again? Never, I swear. He kissed her neck, her cheek, working his way to her lips. I missed you, goddess. I missed you so much. I missed you too. Emma pressed herself against him, their kiss desperate, an apology, a promise, a rush of relief. His hands traced her face, her hair, her waist, as if making sure she was real. He turned, pulling her with him, and they tumbled onto the bed. He hovered above her, breath unsteady, eyes searching hers. I love you, he said, voice rough. I should have said it before. I love you so much it scares me. She traced a hand along his chest, feeling his heart hammering beneath her fingers. We can be scared together. She tugged him down until their bodies touched. So, you're staying now? Yes, if you'll have me. His lips hovering just shy of hers. She could feel the heat of him against her, the tension coiling tight and low, the promise in the way he inhaled her scent. I don't deserve you. Probably not, she said, her voice a little husky. But you're stuck with me anyway. He kissed her, and it was like coming home. Every inch of him pressed into her, limbs tangling, heartbeat syncing with hers. His hands moved over her, sending shivers in his fingers' wake, holding her close, tethering her to him. She wrapped herself around him, arms and legs clinging, drawing him impossibly near, the world shrinking to the two of them. 3 weeks later, Emma stood on the porch, watching the last truck climb the long driveway. That's everyone, Lucas said, sliding an arm around her waist. The pack's home. She leaned into him, feeling the press of his chest against hers, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat grounding her. Jade had arrived first, immediately claiming Emma as a sister and dragging her off to see the bookshop. The others had followed, settling into the house with a mixture of curiosity and quiet authority. The day before, the stranger had climbed from the truck, followed by his alpha, Michael. His name was Daniel, and he had offered a careful, sincere apology. Michael had lingered just long enough to give Lucas the weight of his approval. Emma had watched it all, noting the subtle ways a wolf's hierarchy and honor shaped even human interactions. When Michael headed inside with Lucas, Daniel stayed on the porch, his jaw working as if he were chewing over words he didn't want to say. Emma crossed her arms and waited. I owe you an explanation, Daniel said finally, not quite meeting her eyes. Not an excuse, just context. I'm listening. He exhaled slowly, staring out at the forest. My sister, Kara, 5 years ago, she fell in love with a human, a good man, kind, brave, everything you'd want. He knew what she was, accepted it, then, well, it went horribly wrong, she's never recovered. Emma nodded, finally understanding. I'm sorry to hear that. He shrugged. Fresh start? She offered. Relief crossed Daniel's face. Fresh start. Now, the house was theirs, full of noise, warmth, and life. Lucas pulled her a little closer, brushing a strand of hair from her face. Happy? Emma looked out across the clearing, at the forest, at the house filled with her new family. Terrified, she admitted, but yes, very happy. He kissed her temple, and she rested her head against his chest, feeling the bond in the press of his body, the rise and fall of his breath. It was a different kind of safety, a wild, tethered connection, the sort that wolves felt with their mate, fierce and unbreakable. She tilted her face up, smiling. We're home. The wind stirred through the trees, carrying the faint sound of movement from the edge of the forest, the quiet calls of wolves. Emma breathed it in, the scent of pine and earth and life. Her hand found Lucas's, fingers entwining. And for the first time she felt the pulse of belonging, not just to the pack, or the forest, or Lucas, but to a future that was theirs, wild, complicated, and entirely real. She smiled. The world felt vast again, and, somehow, it finally felt hers. The end.